Welcome back for another day of the 12 Days of DFIRmas podcast. I'm excited to welcome Keith Lockhart to the podcast. Keith is a longtime leader in digital forensic industry with decades of hands-on experience spanning law enforcement, investigations, training, and forensic technology development. Currently serving as a vice president at Oxygen Forensics, Keith has been deeply involved in shaping how modern forensic tools are built, taught, and used in real-world casework. All right, well, welcome to DFIRmas. I love how festive you are. And thank you for
What do you
joining
think?
us.
This side or that side? Which one's better?
Oh, I don't know. That I like the Beyonce flip that you just did with your hat.
That took no practice whatsoever. I'm good. This is the first time I've had one of. Is this an elf hat, or I don't even know what kind of hat this is?
I don't know.
Hat?
Is Santa considered an elf? Is he one of
I
the
guess
elves?
in the grandest scheme of things, probably. Right?
Oh, well, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just know you said find an ugly sweater, and I didn't have one, but I did find this.
I do have this shirt on, and I was like, I can't wear this in an office environment, but it says, "To the window, to the wall. I'm gonna deck the halls."
Okay.
And I feel like only people that understand like where that reference comes from, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not appropriate for work." But I saw it and I had to get it. It reminded me of all the other things that you've done in your career. So speaking of which, how did you get started? How did you get into digital forensics?
Okay, so you may have heard this storyline before, where you take a geek and make them into an investigator, or you take an investigator and make them into a geek, right? Which one's more difficult? Which one's more probable? So I was probably the geek first before I became a cop. And I don't know if that served me well or not, but the evolution of that was I did a few years with a little task force out in the woods where we would hide out and do things that weren't traditional work. And because I was that guy who could make the printer go, right? I remember installing Windows 95 with like 30 floppy disks, Amy, holy smokes, and making our first printed reports. It was just ridiculous. But that's how I got started is work where people were keeping, we're doing search warrants and people are keeping information on their computers in the kitchen. Oh, Amy's got and we would start seizing those, but we had no idea what to do with them. So we had to send them away. And finally, somebody did a training in our area on what to do with that stuff. And we were all like, let's go to that, because we always lose our little tiny drug dealing cases were beneath arson, murder. We'd send that stuff away and never see it again. So I was the geek that turned into an investigator and was able to apply geekness to that. So that's how I got started in it. And I got to take it one step further than when I left to become full-time education in that arena. I was working at National White Collar Crime Center for 4 years or so, and we took tax money and brought law enforcement into West Virginia, mostly against their will. They were so like, go do this, and they'd be sitting there like, I don't want to be here, I can't stand this, and we would torture them. Like, here's how you reconstruct a partition table with a disk hex editor at the disk level. And they're like, we have guns. I'm like, I know, just be calm. And, like what would make you give up a law enforcement job when you work so hard to get it? And the only thing that took me to that was, I can go teach law enforcement to have a better day with their technology. That's fair. And that's how I started, and then went from that to really education, because nobody had any. Back then organizations were just starting that provided, cop shop talk about it, because look, law enforcement has no money. They still don't. They had none then. They had no education, and the criminals have all the money they want and don't have to obey any rules at all. So it's really lopsided battle going on right then, and being able to help that and have a learning curve that's straight up, because technology never stops evolving. So you really can't just stop learning, right?
Yeah.
So that's always been a thing. I guess 25 years later, I still do it. Sometimes I pound my head through the wall. Sometimes I sit back and go, victory on a Friday. All right. But that's how you get into that. And I was the geek first and the investigator later.
So have you followed up with some of the individuals from West Virginia, like all the different police officers? Do they thank you, or do they still hate you? Like how does that?
They routinely, yeah. In the last 20 years, so those groups, and I was really lucky, I think, because all of my jobs kind of prepared me for the next one. Even to the effect at that job, the vendor tools were just coming into their own, and they had to, because the drive size were getting so big, you needed automation. When I got into this, you could page down through a floppy disk sector by sector until you were done in a day, to see everything. And then when hard drives came out and started becoming so prevalent, okay. And then they started increasing in size. You had to buy into some vendor technology. But for those years there, we didn't. We went and found all these free tools because the cops had no money. And we'd show them how to use this bucket of free tools. And even now, I've worked for 2 vendors in my career, and I would constantly tell people, use whatever tool works for you. Mine's not the end all be all. My company's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, listen, if I was telling people this is the end all be all, I'm doing a disservice. This is a tool environment for dang sure. You know this. And that's the way we taught back then. So when those people 20 years ago finished out their law enforcement career and just went and got jobs in the corporate space, because then you take the geek and make them a corporate person, and the corporate person make them the geek investigator. Well, they've already got those skills, and then they just move on into corporate. Now think of the evolution of what we do. So first it was computer forensics, right? Which the traditional pills to swallow about collecting everything or not, or prosecution versus defense, and I've had to address those in my time. But then things like, e-discovery come along, or oil rigs blow up in the Gulf of Mexico, and there's trillions of mails, or incident response, everybody's getting hacked, or litigation support, or, what is it now? Target collection for AI stuff. I mean, the evolution it never stops. So as you gain those skills and go on, I've seen those people over and over again as they had to learn new stuff. And being at a vendor who would build technology to address all the new trends, I'd see him again, and we'd always reflect back to, I'm going to kill you back then. You're going to want to kill me now. Let's do it again. And, it's a lot of fun, but a lot of good longtime friends in the industry, because I've been teaching them. I don't get to teach much anymore, but for 10 or 15 years, I taught them many, many times all over the world. It's great. A lot of fun, a lot of technology.
Yeah. I feel like there's a trend. So I talk to a lot of people in the industry, and every time I'm like, oh, how did you get started and stuff? They're like, I knew a little bit about tech, or I was a person in the office that could fix a printer, or I knew what a hard drive was.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they got roped into it.
Well, when we were in Florida for our user event, when we had Becky and Stacy, they were doing 20 years of technology, 1 terabyte at a time, and they were holding up floppy disks, like the 5 1/4 floppies. And I'm surprised nobody got out a box of punch cards or something. The evolution of technology like that and what you could do. Oh, what's a hard disk? Oh, that's this little, it's got a hard shell. That's not a hard disk. It's not as floppy as the old one, but it's still a floppy. You're right. So if you knew what a hard disk was, not just a hard plastic shell, you were going to be that person, right? Because tech, exactly right. That is the pattern. That's the trend for sure.
So in terms of trends, are you seeing individuals that are seeking out digital forensics first now as they're going in the industry, or are they still kind of accidentally like tripping and falling into the industry?
I think the trend I see now is it probably skipped digital forensics overall, because people were hanging shingles. Oh, I can teach at a university. I'll go start an academic program. But now people have just caught on to the marketing buzz of cybersecurity, right? It's an overarching thing, and forensics becomes a piece of that. Like people talk about incident response and they'll think live capture and preventative network maintenance versus the forensic part that, okay, that was the bad machine. We still have to take that apart and find out what happened.
Yeah.
So I think it got stepped over into a larger thing. And it's popular now. That's probably job security in cyber security, DFIR stuff. You know what I mean? Like I just saw a LinkedIn post today because I follow Becky and Stacy, oddly enough, and they were like, hey, here's your chance. And the FBI is soliciting for digital forensic examiners right now. Constantly in need for that. And this is like, I wish they'd turn the internet off some days because technology drives me crazy, but not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
There'll be a need, and people aren't going to stop being bad, so there'll be a need for this with the technology forever because, how many devices do you have, Aim?
Actually, I am boring. We were just talking about this on another episode about how you'll have people come in with like 5, 6 devices, and I'm like, I actually only have my cell phone and my laptop. I was like,
well, that's 2. That's okay. That's 2.
I was like, I don't know. Maybe that's horrible. Maybe that's good. I don't know, but
yeah. Look, this is a 4-person family household. And sometimes when I get into my network settings to go find something out about my network, it's like, there are 39 devices connected. I'm like, are you kidding me, people? Oh, and there's still boxes of, old iPads, and it's ridiculous.
I guess I did forget. I do have a smartwatch, so I do have that too. So I have 3 devices. Look at me.
What about your refrigerator or your?
I don't actually. Our fridge is not smart.
Oh.
It's a dumb one.
Who says this? Our fridge is not smart. But that's the thing, right? You can have the refrigerator take it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Our TVs, our little Zoom, whatever, the Fire Sticks, you name it. It's crazy. The Internet of Things, for sure. But let me look. One of the things we talked about in questions for this was, let me add a second part to my storyline, because everybody's had to experience this as well. Back then, so it was primarily law enforcement was my upbringing in this. And there's a time in the lineage of the career where, it's prosecution. We don't help defense. And there was a day, well, here in Neo, swallow a pill, the red pill, but swallow the defense pill. And the reason I did, one of the big reasons I did was, do you know when everybody's educated on the same stuff, how much easier it is to get things done? If you just think of it like that, like if you're, just because I'll play prosecutor and you play defense, if I say, Amy, well, I found 39 of these images in unallocated space, you're not going, unallocated what? You're flying around space. You're like, oh, crap. Okay, then I get it. We'll stipulate, or maybe as an example or scenario. But if everybody understands that kind of stuff, life is so much easier for everyone, cheaper, time savings, because everybody knows the same stuff. So I literally had to swallow that pill in my first part of my career, the 16 years at Access Data, teaching everybody the same thing, education for the masses. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, but it paid off for the long run, for sure.
Well, yeah. And then, so here at Oxygen, the other thing all the time was, if you're going to, and this is the cop thing, if you're going to collect a hard drive, you get all of it, absolute sector 0 to infinity. That's just the name of the game. And there's just no time. There's lots of arguments either way. You don't do that, you're going to miss victims potentially, or, you don't clear a house by saying the kitchen's clear and somebody jumps down the stairs and shoots everybody. You get everything. But today I've swallowed the targeted collection pill, because there isn't time or space or storage, or savings, or whatever it is, to get everything all the time. And especially from a litigation perspective, hey, listen, I want the emails between Amy and Keith from June of last year. And that's it. There's a scope, you have no scope creep, or maybe you're not legally allowed to go get everything. Yeah. So I've learned to teach everybody everything, and target collect is the name of my life now, because you just don't have the time for storage beyond that. Crazy.
So do you see a skills gap for those type of investigations with the examiners that are viewing them? Like if you're an examiner, let's say you're a junior examiner and you go in and you're doing a very targeted examination on just a small window of time, are you seeing that as a skills gap long term?
I think it's very case relative, and there are so many good LinkedIn posts this month about this, about, hey, to get a full file system, or you just get a what you see is what you get, because this vendor technology says it parses an app, but without the dependent files that you get from the file system, that's great that you can spell that app's name with a big crayon, but you're not getting into the data relevant to it without getting the right kind of collection or extraction, right? I don't know that it's a skills gap. It's very use case, or very case relative, very scenario driven, because a lot of people know both, and they may be limited by technology or not. I don't see so much of a gap. I just see, I see the gap not being the people, but the technology and the capability to get at some stuff,
So with all the remote collection, that's like also the latest buzzword, and these targeted triages and approaches, how do you think that we're going to be looking in like the next 3 to 5 years in the industry?
Look, it's weird. I've been doing a lot of this conversation lately, because some vendors are quitting this front. They're not doing remote collection anymore, targeted. And I just don't understand that, because it's getting bigger, and you may be the exception with 3 devices, because I have more than 3, and think of everything we're after, think of what we're trying to accomplish like that. Taking AI out of the equation or the conversation, I just don't know how we're going to continue without targeting things that are more specific to the needs, whether it's elements of a crime or the scope of investigation or the privileging of whatever it is. I just don't understand how. I'm sure there's understanding to be had, and I'm just not having it. But knowing the differences that I know, that's going to be a trend going forward. That there's no question. There's no avoiding it for sure. And it's like back in time, people didn't get into computer forensics. And this is an analogy from a class 20 years ago. Somebody came in and goes, yeah, we had an ape case, so here I am. In an ape case, it was an acute political emergency that they didn't have the means to deal with. So go figure out how to deal with this computer problem we're having. Until there was that big problem, nobody cares. So there'll be situations where somebody's going to have to figure out how to target a collection, and probably from afar. Those two things go easily together, because, it makes me so sad. There are people that have a policy. Hey, listen, if I have an agent on that computer 5,000 miles from here, we have to get a full disk image of that computer over the network. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel bad.
It's gonna be a long
for
day.
People. It's going to be a long pack of lunch, week long box of food. I don't know. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So
all those things.
So like, you obviously talk to a lot of customers one-on-one. Is that the feedback that they're getting? Is that the preferred method is targeted, or they want to do a full file system?
No, the feedback is, well, if they're forced to, they certainly don't like it, especially when we go, look at what you could do. You're like, okay, it's frustration. But you wouldn't believe the number of people that go, I had no idea we could do it like that. And that's
as
it's
a
funny
positive.
As a positive, yes, as a positive. Our tools get that a lot anyway. You pick any vendor tool, and I make numbers up all the time. Like, our detector tool has 749 bells, buttons, and whistles, right? And if you don't know how to use at least 400 of them, you're doing yourself a disservice, or you're not getting a return on your investment, or just you're not having a good day with your tools. When people figure out that they don't need to do the traditional way anymore, they're like, oh my God. Putting remote computer collections have been around 20 years, enterprise technology. But, computers, one thing, everybody's on devices, they're just as bad or prevalent or chock full of information. So when they realize they don't have to take a business downtime, hey, Amy, send me all your devices. Are you out of your mind? I can't send you all that. I can't go offline for 4 days. You're going to kill me. Oh, you're right. Here, I'm going to send you this thing. Put it on your phone.
Well, yeah. Okay, and also, like, if it's a mobile device, what person is going to be without their mobile device for 3-4 days?
Exactly. And then when they realize, wait a minute, I don't have to do that part, because everybody hates me. I'm the poor IT group that has to do this when something happens and I got to go collect these things.
Yeah.
And I say, I need your phone. People hang up on me. They run away from, and I'm just, no, let's do it the way we got this new thing. You don't have to do that. They buy lunch for me again. We're all friends again. Because they don't have to do that, and you're right. It's fucking, they're like, wow, okay, we'll buy into trying that,
Yeah.
And once they get into it and realize, corporate, especially, because corporate, it's not implied consent, but if you come work at the company, Amy, I'm going to give you a device.
Right.
I know the credentials on it already. It's already managed with all the applications I want on it. So if something ever happens, it's not like I got to break into your stuff. It's your corporate device. You work here. It's just that if you're doing bad things, well, then you're doing bad things. But it's not the battle that is traditionally fought when you're trying to guess somebody's PIN and locking a phone into erasure. It's a different model, and people are like, wow, okay, I get that. So
for individuals that are entering the field, what advice do you give them when they're trying to explain to a customer, like, the impacts that they can have when they're on scene versus remote versus other things?
And it's funny, there are calculators out there that do things like this. It's like, look, especially in the service provider world, right? Hey, if you are going to collect X amount of devices, and each collection takes X amount of time, and you bill at X amount per hour, and you do this many devices in a year, and you start putting all those sliders together, it's like, wow, here's what your expense is.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's the software you can do it yourself. It's like eDiscovery was huge for that, because the EDRM and is a very expensive model, the electronic discovery reference model. All the different phases are super ka-chings. And when you taught people, even if it was a 7-figure amount, that's the less than the 8-figure amount they were outsourcing to do it. So those were huge sales cycles back in the day. But when people found out how to fish for themselves, they're like, all right, then we're going to save this much in time and energy doing it our own, or doing it ourselves. So it's understanding I got to get on a plane, or don't I? I have to take your phone from you and take you offline for 5 days, or do I not have to do that? I need all the storage because I'm collecting everything, but wait, I don't. I can target what I need. Oh, wow, it's going to take me a month. Last week, the story was somebody I was talking to flew from London to Africa. They were in the air longer than they were on the ground collecting the device.
That's crazy.
And they're like,
yeah.
If I had this back in the day, right? It's things like that become no-brainers. Once you go there, you never go back, right? Not trying to focus this conversation on remote, but it's a
No,
lot to
it's
it.
true though. And also like if you and you're talking about just the time it takes, right, to go to some place or the cost of a ticket or stuff like that. If you break that down to an hourly rate as well of what someone is like an employer is paying an examiner, it can impact budgets overall depending on what their
Yeah.
cadence is. So, totally makes sense.
Look, I spent 10 years of my last career at Access Data preaching collaboration around the world because of the backlog of data, right? That's largely
Yes.
because of the model. We got to collect everything, right? So now, if you take, what is it, Moore's Law, everything doubles, every year and a half or 90, whatever it is. And what we're responsible for 95% of the data on the planet in the last 10 years, whatever weird analogy you want to put to that. You can level out the collaborative years because of collecting everything against, oh, wow, a lot of people target the data they want now, but there's that much more of it that collaboration is still a need, right? But if you're collaborating on better data to begin with,
Yes.
it's like the triage model of, Amy, if you're going to come into my lab and dump all this crap on the desk and go, hey, make me a case and then run, that's going to work about once. Then I'm going to learn my lesson and I'm going to buy some technology. The next time you come into that bucket full of stuff and try to run away, I'm like, halt. Amy, at least give me a list. Give me something that you're looking for so I can get a good first pass of responsive data for you on these top 10 things you're after. Package that up and give it to you to go through. How much more efficient is it? And I'm not going to give you all that operating system guard. I mean, I can make your day so much better, even if it's just you and me collaborating. I mean, who knows the data better? Me, I know the law or whatever the current storyline of the world is, but it's your data, it's your case. You know what you're after. Why would I go through it and waste both of our time, right? So I'm very passionate. That's like pulling the strings.
No. It's 100% true. Yeah. So when I was working with case agents before, right, we would sit down and we can send you a form and you can fill out the form out with all the information you're looking for. But 9 times out of 10, it would come back and would say, I just want everything. And so you're like, you don't want everything off this device. Yeah. That's not what you want. So what we would do is we would send them the form so they could review it. And then we would either get on a VTC with them, a Zoom call, or the phone, or they'd come desk side and we'd say, okay, this is what we're looking at. What information is important? Tell me about your case. Let me learn the details of your case so that I know what data I should be targeting and looking at. And it was so much more efficient.
Help us become a better investigative team.
Yes.
Totally.
Because if you tell me you want everything, it's going to take 3 months.
Yeah. Well, look, when I got started, it was, we'll just print everything. Hey, prosecutor, you really don't want to do that. Oh, yes, I do. And you can't tell me no. Okay. You back that truck up, to the courthouse. Like, what the hell is all that?
This is what you asked for.
You said, yeah. And here's the bill for all the paper and the ink, and that happens once. That happens once, it's probably a little over the top as an example, but that's the example for sure. People learn.
You say it's over the top, but not digital forensic case related. There was a proposal that I was on a team for, and I did defense contracting for a long time. And so I got put into proposal room because they needed technical SME. And this proposal didn't have a limit on page count. And I'm not even kidding you. They had a semi-truck back up to the customer and unload crates of binders. I was like, okay, first off, I just feel like we're not going to win this because that's just like an obnoxious response. But
yeah, look, there are great
matter.
movies like that too. I've seen warehouses full of digital devices to go through from like terrorism cases. Warehouse.
Yeah.
Like, how in the, and that's not even printable yet. That stuff's not even extracted to put into some technology. Oh my gosh, those are like career making and breaking cases right there. Holy moly.
Yeah, no, I learned really quickly, like, the devil's in the details and pay attention to what you're asking for because you might be asking for too much. Okay, so if you could imagine like a perfect future state for digital forensics, what would that look like?
Oh, I saw that question when you sent that the other day, and I was like, wow, I don't think there is a perfect future state, because as soon as you get there, something changes. I mean, there's always a new device or a new operating system or new firmware or new security patch or new media or a new transportation or network thing. Maybe the perfect future is one with instant gratification education where you're never behind the curve. Because remember, you talked about a gap, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's usually a technology gap because the technology is always trying to keep up with those changes. Like we release our tools all the damn time because there's always a new version of an app or a firmware or an OS or a device. And if we weren't, let's keep watching this flip around behind my ear. If we weren't doing that all the time, we would be doing our customers a disservice because we're always keeping up the trend. Cloud, right? You had a question about cloud we were talking about the other day. And we can release a cloud extractor with a release of the tools, and it's perfect. And the next day, Google will change its authentication API, and you go to log into the cloud extractor and it doesn't work. Like, oh, this tool stinks. Well, we got to fix it. I mean, there's always update flags in there because we're always adapting to those changes. Right. And I think the perfect world would be instantaneous adaptation, and we'll put a hot fix out, or we'll put, give somebody a build of something that fixes that for the problem. But I mean, the next build will have all those changes incorporated, but then things change again. And that's a constant battle with keeping up with the Joneses and technology, So the perfect one is, man, tools that are instantaneously adapted and education to suit.
Yeah, it would be great if we had tool sets that would just eliminate the entire backlog, that we could just keep pace. That would be amazing.
Well, so let's build AI into all the tools, right?
Oh my God. So many people you just made them so angry.
I know. Well, you remember, I don't know if you stayed for the debate we had at that.
I didn't. I heard it was good.
It was great. I mean, and I was moderating, and of course, the night before, there was an article about a police department that was sending their body cam footage straight to an AI cloud to start generating reports from the body cam footage. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Wow. Now, this is on the heels of, I think, Troy Lawrence from his video presentation about how, those technologies that do videos intersplice cells into the stream it has to make it more seamless for the viewer. They aren't even real. Those weren't even part of the actual recording. They're just put in there to make it flow better. I'm like,
yeah.
This to that. Wait, what? So now you got another technology that has no context of what was on the scene. They're trying to extrapolate a report.
And it's like, did it help or did it hinder the process? Yeah.
Yeah. Who watches the watchers is that whole conversation. And I do this all the time at work. I'll help review a document that has plainly been GPT generated or some language model generated. And I'm like, who wrote that? Because our industry is one where, like, if you're saying, hey, AI technology, build me a report on World War II. I mean, there's 80 years of vetted information out there all over the internet.
Yeah.
Piece of cake, right? And it's probably mostly accurate at this point versus, hey, tell me how this forensic tool processes this cloud data. And there's just not a lot of that out there where you can't, without codging a bunch of things together into a paragraph that doesn't make a whole lot of accurate sense, maybe. You got to read through there and go, who wrote that? Well, I was out. Yeah, okay. Let's clarify that. Who watches the watchers at that point? And now you see all of them. Hey, AI bots hallucinate. You got to check what they give back to you because it might not be accurate. There's been enough complaining, might not be the right word, but enough awareness where at least the qualifiers are being put to the people using it. This isn't gospel, people. You have to fact check the thing. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm from. Yeah. Anytime you're using like an LLM too, like ChatGPT, for instance, we were just talking about this with a friend of mine, and they're like, yeah, I mean, I believe it because it's so confident in its response. It's like, yes, absolutely.
Well, and it scares the crap out of you because this time I tried to use on somebody, I asked a question like, what color is the sky? Like, no. Be specific. Like, it's 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the December 1st. And what color is the sky in the Northern Hemisphere of North America and the state of Utah? Well, since you were that specific, if you look to the east, I'm like, get out. Come on. I mean, the more you give it, the more it's like a troll. Right? The more you feed it, the more it's going to keep talking back to you. And it always wants the last word. And I'm like, man, this could go on forever. You just got to get me. Then I'll start asking outlandish things. I'm like, it'll never know, who are the Tal Shiar in Star Trek? Oh, that was the undercover Romulan organization. I'm like, get out. God.
And you're like, run. It's so believable though.
I know. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Somebody's behind there just like, what is it? Googling and typing back to you is what I feel like. It's one of those meme videos that Google is actually a person.
Oh my gosh. So what are some keywords that stick out to you when you're like going through a report and you know that someone absolutely used an LLM?
It's not a keyword, it's the long M dash.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So people get busted by that all the time. And I had no idea what that was until somebody was like, oh, here's how you tell. Because I've never even used it. And once you do, it throws all the emojis in there and the M dashes. You're like, wow, that's totally GPT. And you'll say people, hey, you GPT'd my response. I did not. Where'd you get this? This, I didn't put M dashes in there. That's the telltale giveaway. But, depending on what the content is, and I'm not familiar enough to know, like you said, oh, absolutely. The confidence that the things can write back to you.
Yeah.
And when you even give me more buzzwords and, the whole buzzword world that you want to avoid will be right there on what it was. And what gets me more, Amy, is when marketing, and I'm talking my own marketing team, they'll be mad at me, but they're always worried about search engine optimization on things, right? Mm-hmm. So there are buzzwords and sometimes it's buzzwords and repetitive use of the buzzwords because all the algorithms are looking for those words. And I think there's probably a great algorithmic tie-in between GPT responses and search engines, because the optimization is always such a key thing like that. And that's where I read it and go, oh man, if I read that word one more time, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Empty threats. But yeah, it's the GPT world. It's like if you don't use it, you're danged if you do and danged if you don't.
I think there's an appropriate way to use it, just not for casework, right?
Yeah. I've seen great things come out of it. It's crazy, but casework where you need much more human subjectivity to judge things versus the unknowns or the absolutes of a language model or AI thought process that just doesn't have the context.
Yeah. Could you imagine having an analyst though that was that confident? Like, hey, I need you to look at this mobile device and turn for it. Yes, absolutely. Just like.
Oh, I'll do. Yeah. Well, and I've talked to people.
It's coming, right? I guess with the robots.
They run the lab and they get a report from someone and they're like, "Hey, this is not your report. What did you do?" And they went out they took their first time at a GPT client to help them. My daughter did that one night. She got in a big fight with me and my wife, and our phones bling, and we looked down and it's this big long apology from our daughter. Now we're in the house. She's upstairs and we're downstairs. I'm like, get down here. I'm like, there is no way. She goes, yeah, I GPT the apology. I'm like, you are so grounded.
Write me an apology and I want this outcome.
That's what happened. And what it got was, get down here, you're grounded. No, not really. But we were just stunned. So like, this is not our daughter. What in the world?
Oh my gosh. I can't handle it. I don't even know. If my son had access to ChatGPT, I don't know. I don't know what he would come up with.
They use it in school. Amy, so like last night, I'm helping my son with math. And the rule is, you can ask Alexa. Can't believe I have an Alexa in my house. It's so stupid. But you have to know what you're asking for, right? You can't just get all the work. You got to be able to show your work. If you show me the work, now you're just trying to get done faster and you know what you're doing, fine. As long as you know what you're talking about, you can ask for the answer. I spend more time on YouTube with Dr. J, the math guy, than I have in my whole life. And Amy, they don't even do math the way I did in school. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, I know.
Just do this.
I'm struggling too.
Like, it's the same. You get the same result. Drives me nuts.
I'm struggling too. My son's only in first grade, so I'm just saying. Like, I'm struggling with like first grade math. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is not how you multiply numbers.
Yeah, well, you know how to find you when they're losing their mind. And, we would get Skittles out and do division problems with Skittles just because they're easy to count. Oh my gosh. Sorry, not anything to do with GPT, but that's where I feel like that's what we need to go back to because of
Skittles.
The way these things
dividing with Skittles. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a holiday podcast, so I want to ask you seasonally, what is your holiday tradition? What do you like doing?
I'm so mad right now. Okay. That's not a good answer to this question. It's 60 degrees outside of my house right now. Last week it was like 25 degrees and I was drinking hot coffee and chocolate at 2 p.m. to stay warm. And I'm about to go cut my grass. And here's the problem with that. So the kids' last day of school, I think, is Friday. They're off for the rest of the year. And they take our local golf course and they deck it out with, lights galore, bajillion lights, and the whole surrounding Tri-County area comes to see it. In the last couple of years, it's been like muddy. Like there's no winter to it. Winter wonderland, whatever they want to call it. And I'm like telling my family, my whole extended family that's coming in, I'm not going to the lights unless there's snow. And
you can't do that. You can't bah humbug that.
It's horrible. Well, okay, great. Noted.
I actually have
Noted.
never been to one of the like light festivals that you drive through. I've never done
Well, this
one.
is things like, state renowned almost, and it's in the last couple of years, it's been such a bummer, like a total buzzkill, because it's muddy and slushy and there's no snow, and it's not, there's winter music playing, and you're like, at least make fake snow or
I
something.
was
Bring
gonna
up some.
say they couldn't invest in the fake snow. Man.
No, no, but we'll see. I mean, there's time, but it's not looking very promising.
Well, I hope you get snow.
What
Do
about
you
you?
normally?
Give me a tradition for you.
Oh my gosh. I shouldn't ask this everything. I feel like I have like so many random things. Well, we always like bake cookies, so there's that.
Uh,
And this year, I'm gonna do like a traditional Italian style dinner, not the seven fish dinner. Let's be clear. I don't think I can handle that. I'll leave that
you're
for my
doing all the
aunt to
cooking?
do. I don't do that. But like lasagna or like stuffed shells or something like that for the kids. And then yeah, we always do an advent calendar. That's always been our staple is the advent calendar of some sort. So,
Uh, okay.
but it evolves every year. The advent calendar does to whatever my son's into. So,
Hmm.
always special ones. Not like fun advent calendar with wine or anything like that. Maybe we
Not
need
this
an
year.
adult one.
Not this year. Yeah, exactly. There's two versions of this calendar.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I've heard there's so many different ones that I've seen. Like ones that have like candies in them with the liquor inside. I was like,
Ooh,
okay, all right. And then they
I
have like bourbon ones or wine ones. So
probably wouldn't complain. I probably wouldn't complain.
I probably would be a lot more merrier, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, these are like the worst holidays for domestic violence, like Thanksgiving and Christmas when everybody gets together. The
Really?
worst holidays. Oh, yeah. I mean, think about that. Everybody eats food, gets drunk, and watches football on Thanksgiving and fights. That's like one of the worst days of the year. And
Oh,
when everybody gets together, because you haven't seen all these people in years or all year until next year, and not always the friendliest get togethers.
no. I on Thanksgiving I just eat a bunch of food and go to sleep.
That's the idea, kick the recliner back, and yeah, exactly.
And this year was
Exactly.
great. It was I just got out of prep, and so I just ate all the food.
Oh,
It
right. You
was
probably,
so good.
okay.
I don't think I had that
Yeah.
much pumpkin pie in my lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. Pie, pizza, come to me. Wait,
Yeah.
that's not a Thanksgiving food. Doesn't matter. Go get pizza.
No, we had pizza.
Turkey pizza?
No, we just had I think it was
Or
we
just a
ordered like
regular pizza?
pepperoni pizza. We ordered
Perfect.
it with the intent of like, okay, dinner's not gonna be done by a certain time, so we'll order this as like a snack, and then it ended up coming at the same time all the other food was done. So I was like, well,
Oops. What a shame. Get it,
it was
yeah,
great.
put it on the table.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it. I
So
love it.
all right,
Well,
well, thank
listen.
you so much for being on the
Yeah,
podcast.